watching News at Prime. Let's get into another serious conversation. Senior ANC Gauteng member Mandla Nkomfe says self-serving liberation movements have betrayed the promise of post-colonial independence. In a hard-hitting opinion piece which was published in the Sunday Times this past weekend, he says the blurring of the lines often results in the collapse of the party into the state. Let's talk now to Mandla Nkomfe and understand exactly where he is coming from. Mr. Nkomfe, good evening to you. Thank you very much for making time for us. The headline of your article is very self-explanatory, and I'd like to just use it as a way into this conversation. You say self-serving liberation movements have betrayed the promise of post-colonial independence. If you were to simplify that for the viewers, what are you saying there exactly?
Thank you very much, Dolly, and the viewers at home. I'm basically basing my analysis of on the experiences of the citizens of post-colonial countries that over time they have understood, or the failing institutions have impacted on them in a very negative way. The high levels of corruption, poverty, joblessness, and basically hopelessness. And that is not what citizens basically expected at the point of liberation. So in that sense, liberation movements have actually moved away from what they ought to be doing, which is serving the people, because that's the basis on which they are found.
Yeah.
Serving the people, the aspirations, the material needs of people, more than abstract things.
Yeah.
But if those material issues, conditions, housing have deteriorated, I think it's a betrayal of the promise.
I read your article and I couldn't help but almost frame it in this way, and that is that you are part of the ANC, and that's why you can speak with authority on what has happened since 1994, but almost using the experiences within the ANC for liberation movements around the Southern African region. By the way, there was this summit that was convened, which you also made reference to, of these liberation movements. The reason I'm honing in on the ANC is partly because another senior member of your party, Dr. Naledi Pandor, was speaking on the occasion of honoring Uma Gertrude Shope. And at that particular speech last night, which was yesterday in fact, she talks about the ANC in the not so flattering manner, much like you. So I'd like for us to just take a listen to her on the score of corruption.
Okay. She was a keen observer of the progress of our country in the 30 years of our democracy, and noted advances which I sometimes had opportunity to discuss with her. Advances in education, in science, in innovation and technology, advances in growing our international trade, and in improved access to basic social services. Sadly, she also knew of the corruption that has dragged revolutionary morality of our leaders down. She was aware of our failures at local government level and of the inadequate capacity to serve, which is prevalent in our public service. She was keenly aware of the decline of her beloved organization.
The decline of the ANC, Mr. Nkomfe, and that is part of what you write about in your piece. How deep an impact has corruption had on the ANC's decline electorally?
Yeah, let me come back to that specific question, because I think it's very important. But I do want to frame the issues much more larger than the ANC. When we were still fighting against apartheid, some of us still in exile, we could see the erosion of the national liberation movements and the corruption and everything. And I think we thought that it would not come to us. In some ways, were very different to those countries. But unfortunately, the experiences of the last 30 years have actually shown that we're not different, because power is power. Incumbency has got sins. It doesn't matter whether you are Frelimo or MPLA, etc. So that's a larger frame of the issues. The ANC over time has really declined in electoral terms in a deep way. But the political corruption that I'm talking about is actually what defines where the ANC is. And the worst form of that political corruption, in my view, was the state capture period, where actually the governing party or senior members of the governing party decided that it is no longer the organization that is important, but it is themselves that are important. And that's where I think in the article I talk about the erosion of internal democracy in the ANC, and I'm sure even in other parties in Southern Africa.
Yeah. And
once the party is captured and is afflicted with factions and interest groups, rent-seeking, and that translates into the state, because I think like the previous person was talking, the lines between the party and the state gets blurred, and everything basically collapses. So it's deep. And I think what is being said, the ANC is actually in this renewal mode, which is very difficult. I mean, you stay in South Africa, and lots of examples you can see in the cities where criminals are running the show, basically. So that's a point of an organization that is being compromised and is being driven away from its central vision of serving the people.
And those are very strong words when you say you can see in municipalities, basically cities and towns, that criminals are running the show. I want to conclude the conversation with the question to you about that very point you made about renewal and the difficulty of it. But I want to frame it very simply. Do you think the ANC is capable of renewing, or this is it? The downhill is not going to stop. If anything, it's going to accelerate. You've already made mention of state capture. And in your article, I think you frame it in such that you say families, when leaders and their families become so entrenched in the practice of corruption, it's so difficult for an organization to regain its glory after that. In fact, Naledi Pandor makes that point critically clear, that we have lost our glory. Is the ANC capable of renewing, or this is it?
I remember the ANC is a very old organization, and it's been in this situation a number of times, and that's in the context in which I'm very hopeful. We may be going down now in a very dramatic way, but if a lot of us stand up, speak up, but we take decisions that are decisive, I think we can turn the fortunes of the ANC around, even if it's in the medium term to the long term. So it really depends on what we do, not tomorrow, but today. Whether we have what I say in the article, courage, the ethics, the intellectual courage to tackle the issues. But if it's like Comrade Naledi is saying, it's an abstract thing, then there's no chance, basically. So for me, I think we've got to take practical and consequence management is important. And I think that is the main critique that society has on the ANC, that there is no consequence management. People do as they like, and they don't fear any retribution, basically.
Mandla Nkomfe, thank you
until such time that we... Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I apologize. I thought you had completed your thought. Thank you for joining us tonight.